G'day guys and welcome to the Hunters Campfire. Pull up a chair, get comfortable and enjoy some great company with Mark, Ian and Jono. Thanks to our friends at SSAA and Beretta Australia, we're here to help you make the most of everything you love about hunting, shooting and the great outdoors. And good evening everyone listening. This is the Hunters Campfire in focus. I think this is number 3, which sounds like it's a series. And with me tonight is Rob Baldinger, who is, as his descriptor says, the Venison Diplomat, a professional amateur outdoorsman, bush poet and author with a long title.
I could add more to it, but I thought that was long enough.
That's good. I love it. I like the Venison Diplomat.
Yeah, it just came to me one night, which is the sort of thing that happens to people who write, and I know you write as well, and so you'll be driving down the highway and have to pull over and write notes in your phone, or you'll wake up at 2 a.m. and write notes in your phone, or I'll wake up at 4 a.m. and go and sit in the other room and write an entire bush poem or something in one go. And that's just what happens. And the same came with that title when I just woke up and thought, what am I about? And that seemed to fit like what was my kind of journey, my adventure that I was on with entering the social media world, which I've been I've had my toe in and out of it for a little while now. Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting. Before we get into that, because I think this is going to be a fantastic conversation. You're in New South Wales. So where are you and what's it like where you are?
I'm in what I call the deep south of New South Wales. South. So I'm about maybe an hour and a half from the Victorian border along the coast. In the Bega Valley. Okay. And so we've basically Sapphire Coast along the ocean, and then you get into the snowy mountains, or the Great Dividing Range just to the west. So, and then the rolling green hills of Bega Cheese. So it's really kind of a emergence of those three worlds, the kind of coastal surfy culture, the farming and agriculture, and then the mountains and the skiing and the hunting and the hiking and the outdoor adventure. So yeah, it was very much a conscious decision to end up here. I've lived all over New South Wales. I've got a lot of experience in living in different parts of New South Wales, having been born in sort of Western Sydney, but then growing up in Wagga Wagga, which is rural, and then working all over as a civil engineer all across road projects across New South Wales. And when I stumbled upon the Bega Valley, my wife and I anyway, we kind of knew that this was our place. Oddly enough, after the entire place almost burnt down in a bushfire, we thought that's where we want to be. But, where we were at the time was even hotter and drier. And we were in the Upper Hunter before that.
Okay.
Which is all part of the discovery of hunting and deer and that journey, because the Upper Hunter, if you know New South Wales and the New England region, is prime for deer, pig, goat, you name it.
Yeah. So I do know where you're talking about. The Sapphire Coast, that's Eden, isn't it?
Correct, yeah. Eden's sort of the far southern major town before you hit the Victorian border. So proper Samba country, but also really great ocean-based diving, spearfishing, normal fishing. So, it's really a top spot. There's just so much going on here, and I want to talk really good things about it, but I also want to be like, shh, don't tell anybody, which is what everyone around here is a bit like. We're can be a little bit NIMBY.
Oh, okay.
As people are when they want to protect great places, when they know they're onto something good.
Yeah, so I used to hunt in the Upper Hunter. Mm-hmm. We used to call it Marundi, but I think it's called Marundi. Or was that how it's pronounced? Yeah,
it's short, or just Marundi, just
Marundi,
kind of whatever rolls off the tongue.
Marundi. So I hunted there for a few years. Yes. Fallow deer.
Yes.
And that's in that willow tree kind of, epicenter of fallow deer.
Yes, everywhere up there.
We had a property there we hunted. Unfortunately, the pricing went a bit cuckoo and we decided to look elsewhere. And, of course, from a state forest point of view, Nundle's not too far up the road.
Yep.
So I know that area. And whilst we haven't hunted in your particular area, the adjacent mountains, we were in there in August this year, Bondi State Forest.
Yep. Yeah,
with
beautiful.
the Hellenic Hunters.
Yep. Good. Near Bombala.
Bombala. And the town before Bombala was, I can't think of the name of it, but it's actually got an old sign painted on a building that says it's basically exactly halfway in terms of travel time between Sydney and Melbourne.
Oh, right, okay. Dowell.
It's the one before. It's the one before Bombala. I think. No, I don't think that was it. But anyway,
I know that there's an area, that whole area was due to be Canberra.
Yes,
it was one of the options. So. Yes, so here we are, a bunch of like geographical historians. I've just heard this anecdotally from people, but because I've also heard that the rock where my family lives now, which is south of Wagga, was also one of the options.
Yes,
being a big geographical landmark, a big rock in the middle of paddocks, basically.
Well, I think it was that halfway between Sydney and Melbourne was the kind of compromise that they were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And Wagga Wagga, of course, the town's so nice, they named it twice.
It's funny that they wanted it to be halfway, and then now no one wants to go there.
So when we came back, we drove back. Ian and I drove back. So literally, we were within 10 minutes of the Victorian border where we were staying. We drove, from almost the border through New South Wales, through the ACT, back into New South Wales, and crossed over the border into Queensland. So it was a big jump that day.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
So that was a big, I think it was like 16 hours or something, or 14 hours at Ian's place and a couple of hours sleep and then head down the hill to Brisbane. But yeah, so I do know that area, well, I do know New South Wales pretty well. We do COVID, my family and I used to travel a lot overseas, and COVID kind of kiboshed that. We're actually going in a few weeks for the first time, and we did a lot of road trip, and we would start central Queensland or northern Queensland, and we would bleed in through the western part into New South Wales, so in Burke, and that way into New South Wales, and then cut across and generally end up on the coast. So we covered a lot of country through there. So
and it changes so dramatically as well between all of that distance. It's just like, I don't think people who have never been to Australia or who come to the major cities just don't understand. The scale is unbelievable. Even where I am, like it's 8 or 9 hours to Melbourne. And I'm all the way down near the Victorian border. And Victoria's not that big, but it's just what you need to get through. It's either coastal or it's mountainous. But it's unbelievable here. Like, I really like it. And, we've got a really good balance of all those things. And, I mean, I don't know if the Victorians like it or not, but us up in New South Wales, we love the fact we can just duck over the border and take advantage of their great national parks. Their hunting licensing system when no booking's required. And I mean, if you've never been honked by a sambar deer before, it is the most thrilling, spine-chilling, exciting experience of your life. And of course, I saw a few, and you always see them when you're driving in or you finished a hunt for the day and you're kind of distracted by your phone or something. That's when you see sambar. They have a sixth sense for knowing when to catch you off guard. And I really love that country down there, like Alpine National Park and stuff. It's amazing.
Well, I've been barked at by reds.
Yep. And obviously fallow, surely. Yeah.
And
they love the bark.
Fallow is it's a different space. Let's call it a bark just for the simple sake. I've been boofed by pigs and I've been snuffed at by buffalo.
I know which one of those I'd be most concerned about.
They do this kind of thing. They just blow at you.
I've been barked at by probably 100 times by fallow, and that's probably an idea. Look into my professional amateurism of when it comes to hunting, my sort of nature of being a little bit. I'm not so good at the sit and wait and the patient style of hunting. I'm very much me neither. I can't do it. We're a bit spoiled in Australia. We don't have to do as much tree sitting, but I definitely like I like moving around, like seeing things. I like a constant exposure to things, and it means I get less deer, or I'm not as effective, and I get barked at a lot.
I'm a fan. I do sit, but it's minutes. Yeah, I will. Okay, I'll sit here and I'll glass, but it's minutes, and in about 15 minutes I'll go. I got to move. I can't do that. I can't park myself on a scrape and sit there for X number of hours wait for something to turn up.
It works. My mate a couple of years ago hunting sambar sat this one cherry tree in the Alpine National Park, and sat it for 5 or on the 6th or 7th, whatever it was, on the last day, like every day, middle of winter. Dingoes howling, freezing cold, and he got a cracking sambar from that. Just waiting, just being patient. They cover a pretty big range, and they will move around, and it could happen in the middle of the night. It could happen during the daylight hours, and he just sat it out day after day for the 6 or 7 days and got one. Yeah. And got the hundreds of kilos of meat for his troubles.
Good luck for him. I've got no way I can do that. I got no patience for it.
some of these guys like that do that kind of stuff are of a different.
Yeah. I got to keep moving. I literally got to keep kicking rocks over and keep moving.
Every day you think that you love hunting more than the next person, they remind you that you just don't, or we all just love it in a different way.
Yeah, I must admit, I've never really thought about it that way. I was actually having this conversation with someone. They said, I like this as much as you like hunting, and I said, I don't know if I like hunting. I don't know if that's an apt descriptor. I don't think that works. There's lots of things I like and lots of things I don't like, but I don't put hunting into either of those buckets because, well, I don't think it sits in a bucket. I think it might be the bucket, to be honest.
Yeah, it's very philosophical. You hunter. Yeah, you just kind of, it is your essence, it's your being, it's your way of life.
The rest kind of sit in it. It's the bucket.
Yeah, okay. The rest is distracting from it.
Let's talk about this book. Okay, so Bush Poet is on the list there, and author. So let's talk about I believe it was your transition from Bush Poet to author.
Yeah, so
fill us in.
Look, I when I was living in the Upper Hunter, I was exposed to some of the great things about country living, and so going to like Horse Festival and going to the King of the Ranges type events and being exposed to proper bush poetry, whether it was recitals of old, Henry Lawson, Banjo Patterson, the stuff we've all heard. It was really the original, particularly comedic or like very emotionally and passionately driven bush poetry at these events from some of the older poets that really drew me in, sort of thinking, wait a minute, like people are still writing these things and they're funny and they're interesting and they're engaging and they're delivered exceptionally well. And that kind of set me down a path of like, I really want to try and do this. And it was woke up one morning, had a bit of an argument with a newly coupled wife of mine, and we had an argument about who was stealing the blankets on the bed. And she knew that I was interested in trying to write bush poetry, and she just said, well, why don't you write, a bloody poem about it then, as a bit of a dig? And I was like, well, I will. And then I did. And so that sort of started me. I wrote that one, The Wrong Side of the Bed. That was the first one I wrote. And then since then, I've written a bunch of others. Usually they follow that theme, like, joking about my wife or me, like self-deprecating. But then when I took up hunting, and I say took up hunting because I, like a lot of Australians, had light exposure to various things through my childhood, maybe a fox shoot every now and again under spotlight, or, maybe some just general shooting out in the paddock, knocking cans over or going for rabbits, things like that. But I really had no idea about deer hunting until I was living in the Upper Hunter. And it was after getting into it and just immediately just going straight down that rabbit hole, like just absolutely absorbing everything to do with deer hunting, that I got around to like a proper rut hunt. And it was probably around COVID, actually. No, it was before that. We'd had a super drought. It was a rough time. We were sort of due for some weather finally, and I was having a really tough time at work. And I said, I'm just going to go. It was an Easter weekend. I'm going to get up into the mountains near Murrurundi, we were talking about before, and I'm going to have a go at these fallow deer. And early in my time getting into hunting, I was very much focused on like meat. That's what I'm about. I'm not, a trophy hunter or whatever, because this is what happens. You get kind of exposed to what popular culture and popular media is kind of, I guess, spewing out at us about what is right and what is wrong, and trying to set that bar without allowing us to kind of figure it out ourselves and being presented with the information. So I went out on that rut hunt, and what an experience. Like, you hear them croaking when it's dark. You're trying to walk up into their country. They sound like they're 5 meters away, but they're a kilometer away. Like, they are the king of their domain. And you've got to come in using whatever skill and tools you have available to you to try and dethrone that king from his country. And I was successful that day. And despite my own buck fever that we all get, and having to kind of follow up with a second shot because the first one was a bit too far back. So that was just that kind of pressure and that all that emotion that comes with that experience. I got a buck, and I then maybe a few months later just woke up one day and had this idea for a bush poem. So I sat down and wrote it in a sitting, just as happens, just kind of wrote the entire thing out. And since then, I've performed it a bunch of times and kind of done it at a couple of different events and things. And, I do other writing for Australian Deer and other things. And I sort of came around, so that maybe that one's about 5 or 6 year old, that poem. And I came back to it and visited it one day when I was doing a course on how to write children's books and thinking about the structure of a book, and particularly a children's book, and thought, well, this poem kind of fits that structure. And the content is a bit adult, like it's a hunter pursuing wild deer in the mountains, the sole purpose of getting one to butcher and take home, take the meat, take the cape, and take the bones or the antlers. And I just kind of, as I kept reading it, I thought, like, well, this could really present our way of life to somebody who has no clue about it, or at least kind of, it covers all those bases. It's got a storyline, it's got a bit of action, it's got the sort of success and failure, and it's deep and it's emotional. And like I said, very adult, but maybe paired with some good visual illustration, it might actually come out really nice. And so I engaged an illustrator and just dove into it. I kind of did a little bit of research on pricing and tried to work out a methodology for how I could at least get it out there and maybe try to get it to cover its cost. You know, that's kind of the goal. So I went down the avenue of self-publishing and engaged an illustrator and have created my first book. So yeah, I guess that puts me into the realm of being an author. I am self-published, so it's not through conventional publishing, which is much more challenging, and there's many more gatekeepers on that. But it's still, you know, a piece of work that I've created myself, and I'm very proud of it. It came out really good. I really like it. I mean, I don't think we've mentioned the name of the book. You see it in the background there.
I was going to say we haven't, but and let's do that first before we forget that.
Yes, so I am a deer hunter. Yeah,
I am a deer hunter.
I'm a deer hunter. Very simple. And it's funny because originally the bush poem was called Buck Fever, and it's even been printed in magazine like Australian Deer Association and Wild Deer have both published that one before. Yeah, on reflection, when turning into a book, I changed the title because that's what it was. It was this person talking about what it means to them to be a deer hunter. So I guess the idea behind it is it's like something that a parent would find interesting to read, particularly one who hunts. I wanted the rhyme and the meter to be nice, like for it to be, you know, easy enough to read for an adult, but challenging for a child. Like someone who's learning to read will find it challenging and will want to look up words and will want to try to expand their English. And an older kid will read it and really find it engaging because it's truthful and it depicts the whole process. It doesn't kind of, I use a bit of restraint, but it doesn't hide hunting, I guess is what I'm getting at. And that's very much a conscious decision. Like it might be found to be quite challenging for certain parents, particularly because of the conditioning we've had over many decades. If you're not into hunting, you might find that challenging. You might agree with and get the idea of hunting for your own meat and hunting for things that you value. But when you've never been exposed to it before, as I can attest to because I'm somebody who's been through that journey, you might find that a little bit confronting at first, but as you go through it more and more, I really believe that you'll understand hunting and you will probably be a supporter of it. Then for kids who are really into that sort of anything outdoorsy, animals, from the limited feedback I've received so far from people who have gotten advanced copies of it, they've been rereading it, studying the pictures, learning the words, looking up the words, which just like fills me with pride. Like I can't believe I tried to make it informative in my own way by putting a lot of footnotes and things in there about what glass means or what a bipod is or what a scope is. Things that a kid or a common person wouldn't understand. I didn't know when I first started.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, again, a conscious decision in that trying not to lose the story, but to also allow those footnotes to kind of be in there to inform, particularly on that second, third, fourth reading of the book, when the parent really wants to, or the kid wants the parent to delve into it more and wants to ask questions. It's been an exciting journey. It's officially out and in the world, I guess. There's no getting it back now. It's out there, for better or for worse. It is a published book, and I'm literally driving to Canberra tomorrow to the National Library to submit it formally. It'll be catalogued into history.
I drove past that library.
Yeah, we were talking about Canberra before, and I
drove past that place specifically.
Yes, so it'll be catalogued in both the state and national library as a Australian author of children's books. And it's the start of my journey. It's really just, this is the stepping stone. And the more support I can get now, the more I'll continue to do, you know. Not that I need that. I do it for me too. I do it because I enjoy it. I just enjoy the process. It excites me.
Lots of questions.
Yes.
Okay. So, like, when you see these things and it's done professionally, I would have already seen this book and read it and had lots of questions that would make me sound like I've read it, and everyone would go, "Oh wow, isn't this a great conversation?" I haven't seen the book, so my first question is, listening to you, because this is the first time we've spoken, it doesn't sound like a kid's book. So, because its origin is a bush poem.
Yes.
And now, I mean, I'm not a poet, and don't I know it? But from my experience of bush poetry, is that it's often lyrical. It's far more. I don't know if it's far more poetic than it is prose, and it's generally designed to be spoken. It's spoken word, as in it's performed. And, as you said, it's usually adult. Maybe there is bush poems for kids. I don't know. That's not my experience. So it's for adult. So I'm kind of seeing this bush poem in my, I'm seeing you at a horse festival, regaling the crowd with this bush poem, and everyone's having a chuckle, and some people are getting the jokes and some people aren't, but everyone's generally enthusiastic about the presentation. And then I'm looking at the Gruffalo, and I'm not getting the connection. So
no, I'm with you.
Explain that connection between bush poem and especially a kid's book that has, reference points in it. There is no, there is nothing in the Gruffalo that has like Gruffalo one. A Gruffalo, there's none of that in there. So it sounds very adult for a kid's book.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that's a very good observation, and when I get you a copy, you'll definitely see that part of it. Right. Part of the reason why I believe it was appropriate, or what kind of gave me the idea to put it into a children's book as well, was there's one other that I've read that is similar, and here I am, I'm about to compare myself to the best known bush poet in Australia, but there's one called Mulga Bill's Bicycle by Banjo Patterson. That was made into a children's book.
Yes, it was.
And it was.
And so was The Magic Pumpkin.
Yeah, and it's one of my favorite to read to my kids. And my kids didn't like it at first because it seemed too wordy and too adult. But as it was performed over and over, and as I enjoyed the performing of the book to my kids, it actually started to become a favorite. And then they started to fill in the words, or fill in the rhyme, or fill in the key active words in the book. And that really is another part of the inspiration that inspired me to kind of push this one forward as something that I would self-publish. The other reason I've done it self-publishing, because you're right, this would never, ever go through conventional children's book publishing because it doesn't meet the norms of But then I kind of look at our entire, like, hunting that's been done forever for, tens of thousands of years and many, many generations. It should just be normal life, but yet it isn't. It's actually like a niche. And so the way that we put media out there and do things is actually not necessarily considered a majority, but actually a minority. And I sort of went, well, that can apply to this industry too. Like, if a child's going to get into hunting, they're going to deal with adult themes, and they need that to be presented in a way that covers some of the ethics and morals, but doesn't do it in a didactic way, which is kind of in that, like, just explaining it to kids, but trying to show it to them. And there's no other way to show it but through, I guess, an adult kind of way, because we're talking about life and death. Which is very deep topics, and the purpose of that life and death to be explained is very challenging. And I'm writing other conventional children's books that is actually, I'm actually going back and forth with a publisher on, and that is probably the thing that I find the hardest about that is, like, we love an idea about a book about hunting and where food comes from, but can you just make sure that it doesn't have too much hunting in it?
Yeah.
And so it's like this really interesting, I guess, paradox of this whole thing is, like, how do we introduce our children to hunting? And I've found that really challenging because I didn't have that introduction conventionally myself through the lived experiences. And so I'm trying to, I guess, find a way to do that for my children. And this is another way that I've found to do it. And so far, it could be because it's Daddy's book, but it's worked. They with the visuals paired with the very adult-like themed and the adult-based character. The character, as you can see on the title, it's like or on the cover page, is a young adult. which is also a conscious decision for this book because, there are certain restrictions, as you know, around hunting and who can hunt and who can hunt solo. So for this one, it's a solo hunter. There's a sole character in the entire book, and it's very much doesn't follow many of the conventions of a children's book, except that it's illustrated and it has that storyline and has some active themes in it that keep kids engaged. But yeah, look, I mean, absolutely, this is probably the feedback that I really want with this experience, because there's such a range of what we can do with this. And I say I feel like, I'm coming in as a pioneer trying to discover all these different pathways as the tide, so all the ships come up with me. I absolutely want many people to be exploring this and trying to find stories and ways to present our way of life. And this is my first one, but I've definitely got many cooking at the moment, many other ideas cooking, both in that conventional, much more entry-level, traditional style, young kid excited about hunting because dad hunts, learning about the skills that they need to learn in a fun way to be a hunter, sight, smell, sound, learning about the animals and how to, what they are and what noises they make, all those types of things is something I also am looking at and kind of bringing that all into it.
Thanks for that. I'm just Mulga Bill is all you need to say. That was all. As soon as you said that, I went, "That's it. That's exactly what it is." It's not a new concept at all. It's actually an older concept. There is a story of Mulga Bill, and that gets, for most of us, that was delivered as a children's book.
Yep, and rhyming in children's book is something that the industry has fallen away from for the last little while, because rhyming has to be good. The meter has to be good. Like I'm definitely not going to say that mine. Like if I gave it to an editor right now, there would definitely be some grammatical and some rhyming things in it that they would pick up on. What I've found in buying books to read to my children, the only availability of hunting related books I could find easily, like so Amazon searching, was from America. And it's great. I'm glad that people have done it, and I've had something to read to my kids. But I've definitely found the rhyming it definitely ticks. It crosses more boxes than it ticks, because makes it that sometimes the rhyming is too simple, too predictable, which can actually be work against you. Or it's poor, the opposite way around, where it doesn't rhyme at all. And what I've tried really hard with this is and any bush poetry, like that's the whole point, is to make it flow and to make the rhymes seem almost predictable, or at least predictable the minute you hear it. It's like singing a song back on the radio, and you kind of know the words, but you sometimes mispronounce them, but you kind of can almost predict it, even though it's the first time you've heard it. That's when you know you're on a good rhyme and you're on a good storytelling style and format. I guess time will tell, because this needs to be out there and needs people to kind of to read through it and to experience it for me to really truly know, and to get that feedback and to go, right, that bit didn't work, or that bit needs to change. It's all a journey, isn't it, really?
Yeah, look, it's the more you're explaining it to me, the much simpler or more realistic it becomes. I was just thinking, we were talking about, Banjo Patterson and Mulga Bill, but then I got to thinking about rhyming, and there's an interesting thing. For instance, I've been watching Tulsa King, and they're on Mulberry Street, and Mulberry Street is Dr. Zeus. That's how I know Mulberry Street.
And Dr. Zeus, that's right. That's something we've fallen away from in conventional children's publishing.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I know Mulberry Street because of Dr. Zeus, not because of, Dr. Zeus is what made me go in Tulsa King. Oh, Mulberry Street. It was that way around. So the knowledge came from the kids' book, and certainly, it would be questionable to say if Dr. Seuss was a kid's book. It was a book within itself. So yeah, we've certainly got models of where this doesn't easily apply. I think it's really exciting, actually, that the way that you've framed this as more about, more about the story and the mechanism on which it's brought across, rather than kind of following that really formatted type of story we get so much. It sounds really, really interesting.
Yeah, I wanted the guardrails off a little bit, and I want parents to have the opportunity to perform it. And actually, another thing I'd love to see, and it's a long-term goal of mine, is I'd love to see children who have memorized and can perform this poem and make changes if they like to make it work better for flow and for rhyme. But that's definitely, I mean, like, cross my fingers, get paired up with a clothing company who will do a prize or competition for kids who are performing, like under 12, let's say, Australia, New Zealand, perform this poem, do your best rendition, make changes if you like. We'll have a voting panel and you'll win an entire, pack of gear or whatever. That's how I kind of see these things. But definitely the performative part for parents, like when you go through it, I try to highlight words that are meant to be like, the deer, it barks at one point. So when I do it, I don't say the word bark. I bark like I do a deer bark. Or there's croaks and there's mews and there's like little rifle attack. Like there's these noises that you can actually do. The onomatopoeia that is in there can be performed. And I can tell you the difference. Look, I mean, you want to read a book that you want to put a kid to sleep. You really want it to be soft, and you want the kind of rhyme to be mellow, and you want to finish on a kind of soft and low. This book is a bit more, we're sitting in the lounge room and the kid's bugging you for another TV show or what's for dinner, and you kind of putting them off, and then they come over with a book and they say, oh, can you read this? And you want it to be engaging and fun. Yeah, you want to have fun doing it. My kids I've got 5 and a 2-year-old, 2.5-year-old, but they each get 5 books per night. And so you can imagine, so that's 5 years, or 4 to 5 years. And then a second one coming in and sometimes having to do that separately to each other because they're in different sleeping patterns. That's how many books, I guess, over 365 days by 5 years, by 5 books a night that I've been reading in this last half a decade of my life. And I can tell you that there are certain ones that I really enjoy to read. And, of course, I'm biased with my own because I have performed it many a time. So I can play along with the performance, and the kids really enjoy that. But yeah, I'm so keen to get it out there and for people to see it. And, I want to keep telling myself I don't need it to be successful, but I think I need to know what people think. There's something about being an author, like you want to be confident in your work and be confident in yourself. But when you're someone who's doing it for the first time, you just really need that feedback. So I need good, bad, or otherwise, so I can improve or stay the course. If this is what people like, I'll just keep creating things like this. I mean, I've already written the second book. And personally, it's the most balanced, like best written bush poem that I've ever written. I'm a duck hunter. I've gone through an editor this time. I've engaged somebody. I've really sharpened it and polished it to the point where every word is where it's meant to be. Every comma, every full stop, every rhyme, the meter is as perfect as that story can be, which is super exciting as someone who's writing, to kind of have something that you drafted in a day again in a kind of quick flourish of like ideas and rhymes and story in your head. And then you spend the time to actually get that to somebody who's a professional and polish it, and for them to just give you little ideas, maybe think about that or think about this, and then you just rewriting entire sections that you held so closely to when you first wrote them, throwing them in the bin and writing them again and seeing it come out even better. There's nothing like it. It's super exciting.
So, as you said, you've already got the second book in train with the first book, and its message about hunting. Well, I assume not really. The positioning of hunting is an activity the young protagonist undertakes, and it's not, as you said, it's not through a lens of, it's not through a moral lens. It's this is what this person is doing.
Yeah, but they are self-reflecting. Self-reflecting during, because it's written in first person, like they
that's
are
right,
reflecting.
But again, that reflection is not. It's not an external. It's the person itself.
Yep.
It's the person itself saying, "Am I taking this shot? Am I not taking?" That's right. Yep. So 100%. It's very much that, there's that idea of excuse me. There's the idea of that. There's the watcher, which governs our moral judgment as a hunter. So there's an external watcher, and it could be anything, but there's an external watcher, and the idea of, and we've spoken to some people over the course of the 4 years about that, and you do a good thing because this external watcher is watching you. Then there's, I suppose, the Aldo Lupo model, which is you're the watcher, as in act as if act as if someone was watching you. And then there's that, think like a mountain, where actually, no, I've just watched myself and I realized I'm the watcher. So I'm getting from the book that this is really about that young person is the watcher. This young person is making those decisions along the journey rather than having some kind of external, influence about those decisions. Would that be a fair summation?
Yeah, for someone who hasn't got a copy and hasn't read it, it's actually amazing that you, like, through a conversation, you picked your way through exactly what it is. That is exactly nail on the head. It is the person who is in the moment, but self-reflecting from life's experience, of course, but also dealing with all of the strong drivers and challenges and emotions that come with hunting, and particularly in that context where you want something deeply, but you also are stepping into a world that your prey, that the game that you're pursuing is expert on, and that world that they dominate, the world that they have perfected through evolution. And you're stepping into that for a brief moment in time, and you putting your wit against them, your grit and your determination. It plays into all of that. So I think, and that's where, like, a kid aspires to something or wants to aspire to something. So usually in a kid's book, you're writing for a few years above that kid, and hence why the range of this book, I've said from 3 to 12, because it's so hard to tell. Like, I've got 10-year-olds and 12-year-olds who are coming back to me with feedback, so friends and family who've never read it before, never had the poem performed to them, and just either asking, hey, can teach me how to do this, how to write like this, or hey, when's the next one coming out? Because they're seeing themselves in a few years' time. And then the younger kids kind of seeing their parents and aspiring to be like their parents, which is how most hunters who come through it generationally will see this world that we're in. They'll see it through their parents. So it's that kind of, I'm trying to bring it into the middle ground. It's like you're seeing the older sister or the older brother or that person, that your family acquaintance, and you just happen to have this in you, this drive or this unknown thing that's not exposed. You don't know why you think hunting is right for you, but you just know that you want to pursue it. And that's what I'm trying to explore with this, and in everything I do, I guess, because I had that. I had like the opening of a door on a single experience, bumping into a fallow deer buck in a national park while out hiking, sent me into an entire different pathway in life to what I had previously lived and envisaged for myself. And all people who've known me my whole life can tell you, they'd be like, 10 years ago, you never even talked about any of this stuff and never expressed an interest in it, because that's exactly what it was like. It's like an opening up and a finding of one's passion in life. And I live a lot of days in regret for not having I can't go back and change it, but not having discovered or had exposure or done these things earlier, because, that I feel like I've missed so many experiences in life. And so this kind of pursuit is absolutely also selfish in that respect, trying to relive those experiences through others, through the sharing of having come into this world myself as an adult, and sort of trying to, I guess, outlay that by getting other people and getting them to kind of an avenue to explore their passions and feel confident about it and feel like it's normal and right. If you want to be a hunter, if you want to be a pig dogger, if you want to be a fisherman, if you want to, kill a sheep for your own family, you want to do these things, they're natural and they're normal. And it's normal to be a human that wants to do that. And it's also normal to not. Not everybody can be a hunter, and God, we wouldn't want them all to be, would we?
Well,
it's
that's the great, the great challenge, isn't it? We want more people to hunt,
but the right ones, and not too many.
But there is everything. We spend all our lives considering about carrying capacity.
Mm-hmm.
What is the carrying capacity of hunters, as in regards to hunters, not what the hunters are hunting. Certainly, how many can we have? But I think we've got a long way to go. I'm of the opinion we've got a long way to go before we hit that. We hit issues around carrying capacity.
Yeah, at least in Australia for sure. Yeah,
yeah, I think we go. Yeah,
possibly even New Zealand.
Way behind. We've got a long way to go. And the other thing is too, there's the stats, for instance, out of Victoria, there's 50-something thousand hunters, but about half of them were the active hunters last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we have a challenge with that yet. but that would be a nice challenge. That would, if there was too many of us, that would be a good challenge politically.
Yeah, it's just one of those. Like I feel like there was we've been as close as ever in history at losing this way of life, and we've lost many aspects of it. Like you don't hear anything about it. There's no trapping really, except for like pig trapping and fox and stuff. Like in Australia, there's no. I mean, New South Wales doesn't have a active duck season. It's now only through
rice mitigation,
rice and or other mitigation scheme. Yeah. And so like we have been losing these things. We are on that slippery slope, and there's so many, like this conversation goes on for days and days, as you know, but no matter what happens, we have to be having new people coming in, protecting this way of life. And some of us need to be responsible for trying to propagate that, to grow it, to do it. And it's, again, selfish in a lot of ways, because I just want my children to be able to do it and be exposed to it early enough to make a decision, like to be like, if you want to, it's there and you can. It's not like if you want to be like dad, sorry, but you can't anymore because it's gone because we didn't fight hard enough for it, or we didn't have enough of us with enough of a voice.
I'm at the
argument ends there for me. That's where it stops. That's like as soon as it gets to that point, I go, that's why we need to keep fostering and promoting and communicating and working on our culture and reinforcing the culture. And I definitely want to be a proponent of that. That's one of the goals of this.
As I said, I'm right at the bleeding edge of that. I've got a 12-year-old who's now licensed member. We're now working on the R license.
Great.
So that he's been coming with me since he's 6. He's been an observer. He's been an active participant in meat preparation.
Yep.
He lives and breathes it. We've had to put rules on how many pieces of camo he was allowed to wear out of the house at any one time. He tells all his
because
friends,
people won't be able to see him. Yeah, is that why?
He tells all his friends. No, just tell us, mate. We're going to the shops. We don't need camo.
You're not going to be blending into the
we're going for a milkshake.
To the decorative landscaping out the
front. Where's a hunter's campfire cap?
Oh, that's so good.
If it's not a hunter's campfire cap, it's a Sarco cap. It's this,
Look, if I ever get to the point where I'm doing public readings, please, every kid come dressed in camo as much as you want, because I will
Where
be
it's
too.
my youngest, not interested at all.
Really? There you go.
There you go. So
isn't it amazing? Like it's just like every kid's different.
And fishing, fishing, but really, I think more likes boating. I think he's more of a boatie than a fisher, so he kind of thinks that's the reasonable expectation of boating is a fishing rod. He loves boating. But so that's it. So that's, within the same family. So, but again, I completely agree. I want my boy to have the same opportunity to create his own hunting life. So I'm all for everything that promotes it. And I'm a firm believer that is the best way to extinguish a culture is to basically reduce its participation. And that's what you do. First you make it seem, you limit it, then you make it appear to be antiquated and or
unnecessary or wrong or cruel or
you give it some kind of connotation. Oh, that's an old way of thinking. That's an old thing of doing. That's what we used to do. We're smart. You devalue it, and then it dies. It withers on the vine, and then everyone is doing it. It's 80, and then all of a sudden they don't need to worry about it. It's gone.
Yeah.
So I'm a firm believer that hunting is a culture, and it has to be like any culture. It has to be a vibrant culture. It has to grow. It has to have new participation, and more people coming involved is only a good thing. You learn, the morality of shot placement, all that through participation. Mm-hmm. You can't study that. You can read about it, but you've got to be able to put that in place. And that's one of the things I say to everyone who says, "Can you take me hunting?" I said, the first thing I say to them is, once you make a decision, we can't take that decision back.
Yeah, it's done.
This isn't catch and release.
Yeah, that's it. And it's funny you say, like, some of the books that I'd bought from the US, again, like, enjoyed, they were illustrated, they were done sort of for kids and everything, but they they tried to cover those things, shot placement and ethics and morals. And it's so challenging to cover those things well in writing, particularly any type of fiction, nonfiction. You're just telling people things. And I'm trying really hard not to just be a propaganda piece for hunting and our way of life, even though that's exactly what this is. It promotes it, it supports it, it does everything, it portrays it. Anyone could say that that's what it is. And I would say, yeah, you're probably right. But I try really hard not to be didactic. I try not to just tell you, you do it for this reason and this is how you have to do it. Like that's absolutely not the point. I think your son's really going to like the second book because it deals with a 12, 13-year-old who takes up duck hunting. Under the supervision, because you have to be supervised in Victoria, South Australia, Tasmania, and New South Wales. But, that they study the wit. And, so footnote, I explain what wit is.
There you go.
And then they practice at the clay, or like they get their own over-under for Christmas, but they've saved up as well. And then they practice at the clays, get proficient. Then they do some scouting and practice their calling and everything. Then they go and duck hunt solo under the supervision of Dad with their trusty black Labrador by their side. And they have, some failures, then some success. And then, of course, that's when the hard work begins, as you know. My fingers won't agree when the time comes to pluck. That's one of the kind of lines in it, because that's, I've done the bit. I'm excited. I've had the shot. I've done everything. I've admired the birds. I've had my moment. I've had the emotion, the overwhelming emotion that comes with particularly doing something for the first time, which a lot of old hunters won't remember, but someone who's done these things for the first time, you're struck with those emotions. And sometimes you get them again, even though I've killed dozens of deer now, like I'll still get that sometimes. That feeling of like the overwhelming sadness for the destruction that I've caused to that animal's life. It comes with it sometimes, and other times I'm just, got to do the work now. And it deals with all of that. Pluck the ducks, go home, they're at the dinner table and they eat the dinner. Just that go-to-woe story. In all rhymed in a storytelling format and illustrated. Just imagine that it's going to be. It's just something else. Like even if no one buys it, I'm just gonna. I'd sometimes just sit down and read that one to myself because I just can't believe that it's even my words. You get that sometimes where you read it and you're like, who wrote this? Yep. I don't remember doing it.
I just can't help but think about rhyming and the word duck. I'm sorry.
Well, I've consciously not rhymed anything with duck, but I am going to run out of rhymes for hunter because every book finishes with I am a deer hunter. And so this second one has rhymed with hunter, and I've got to work on that because I'm going to run out of hunter rhymes and I'm going to have to come back around. But no, I do. What you'll find with this stuff is that when you're dealing with such a immersive and broad spectrum world of words, there's actually so many words that would never be used in any other rhyming format anywhere else in the world, because like no one's writing bush poems and children's book in rhyme about hunting.
Yes,
so you actually find the rhyming is one of the simplest parts of it. The hardest part is getting the meter, getting the sentences to flow without having too many on one line and too little on the next. And that's actually the hardest part of it, or having a story that flows with those rhymes. But I'm finding that, like so many words over under 12, like you've got 12 gauge, you've got all these words that you can actually kind of throw in there that probably have never been rhymed before in this format, and it actually just comes out really easily. Mostly it's the structure of the story that I had to put a lot of work on, and the meter, like take this word out, add this word in. I'm restructuring a line to make it work, and therefore having to restructure multiple lines to get the rhyme to work. That's the bit that is really hard with it. But filling in the rhymes is actually really simple, or at least it is for me, which is lucky.
The more I think about the question I want to ask you, it might not be an easy question to answer. Is what is the rhythm for you? Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, or is it I'm almost now picturing this kind of.
My rhymes have been 1, 2, 3, 4. So like each two lines rhyme with each other, which is I can finish the when we do finish, I can finish with a random bush poem. Like
why not give it now? Why wait till we finish? All
right, we'll do the one that the first one that I did, and so this is one where like I've never gone back and edited it, so like it probably the rhymes are there, but it probably doesn't have good meter and everything.
Sure.
But it's the first one I ever did. So the wrong side of the bed. I'll just bring it up because I don't have it exactly in my mind. It's funny how you can remember thousands of like songs from the radio, and then you write your own stuff, and I know it, but I don't. If I get stuck, then you'll just be kind of caught in this world and you can't get back to it. So I'll just have it here just so I've got a guide. As all bush poets know that when you're really proficient, you can rattle these things off at any moment in full performance mode. So I'm getting there. But anyway, this one's called The Wrong Side of the Bed. Through my teens and in my 20s, I slept so soundly, my head laid heavy. And you might think it was because a growing boy was the cause. But for me, it is a different story. You see, my bed was my own territory. That's right, I think you heard me clearly. My space was something treasured dearly. I'd stretch out my legs, my arms and my toes, all spare corners lumped with clothes. The bed was mine. I was the commander-in-chief, a proverbial caterpillar perched up on my leaf. But as time went by, I grew with age, and a wife was needed. The advice was sage. With little knowledge or wisdom did I equate that my command post would soon be up to fate. So there we were in married bliss. She's your new bride now, so you may kiss. And we would ship off to our honeymoon until the normal life came too soon. Now we would split the bed. That was our fate. As man and wife, they negotiate. Now, it is not an uncommon equation. We'd have one half of the bed each. That was a persuasion. So onwards we went, filled with pride. We'd made our decision. The great divide. We were reserved to half, and sometimes a little more, as we would snuggle together until my snore became too much for my poor dear wife. She tried earplugs stuffed in tight, and she'd put 15 pillows on the bed to make a fort, to drown the noises of my snort. But to no avail, we're in deep trouble. No more married bliss, we'd burst the bubble. Now listen here, she'd say, I need my sleep, so best beware and don't make a peep. But wife, my dear, where will I dream? And besides, I thought we were a team. But my expectations, they were unreal. And so she insisted that we make a new deal. Well, I guess I am the man. I am the king. I lost my wife. The queen, she took the whole damn thing. So here I am, using the spare bed with barely enough room to stretch out my legs. At least with this change, my wife is now cheery and her eyes are well rested and she's no longer bleary. And I can snore loudly and without torment, though my legs are curled up and my back is a bit bent. But wait a minute, who's this hairy invitee? It's the man's best friend, it's the dog, you see. I guess for you, mate, there's always room in my bed. But by 1 a.m., the mutt, he's on my head. Thank you. So, you know, like it rhymes and it, it flows and yeah.
I was trying to anticipate the rhyme.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, as you go through. And some of them might come really simply and others like the cause and cause is kind of not really a...
I'm so interested in seeing this book now because I'm just trying to anticipate the rhyme.
I'll be posting you a copy this week, so you just flick me an address.
There's a part there where you said bleary. I thought you were going to say weary.
Yeah, and I said cheery, I think.
Yeah, that's it. That's fantastic.
So that's the goal of it is, and I always challenge, like, it's funny, since I got into it, I have friends that will just text me random little, like as a joke, trying to like play fun at me, will text me little rhymes. And I go, you know, mate, like that's perfectly good. That's fine. And like, I think bush poetry, if this is even bush poetry, I don't really know. Like I'm not studied in bush poetry. I'm not a...
Well, I don't think there is.
Is there any way that, yeah.
That's right. I think
when I say studied, like there are people in their 80s doing it, but there's not much. Like, there's some other middle-aged people, and then there's maybe some kids, and I've seen, but there's really some big gaps there. So bringing it into mainstream or trying to make it cool again, I guess, is the goal there, because anyone can really do it.
I suppose that's the thing, though, isn't it? Bush poetry is, at least by it's not by design, because design meant that someone thought about it, but by its development, it's not an area of study. I'm sure
it's the freest form. It's free.
I'm sure it's got all that. You know, agreed to rules, and I'm sure it's got agreed to conventions, but you know, or customs and practice. But you know, it's not a study. I think that's the whole point of it. So, and I think that is probably quite liberating. I'm sure that
it is for me, for someone who's not beholden to any of those things and just does it for the fun of it. You know,
you probably couldn't have studied to mulga bill.
Yeah, it's. Like
you wouldn't have,
Banjo Patterson is
you wouldn't have got there through
else.
You wouldn't have got if an English literature course wouldn't have created mulga bill. So I think that's
true. And I mean, I went through a conventional public school system and was not very good at English.
Oh, yeah.
And never took to it either. And this is what's kind of funny about it is when you read like the way that that's written, because it's to be performed, there's no grammar in it, there's no capitalization. No. It is just rhyme, like line after line that way. So maybe that's been one of the challenges again of getting it into a printed format is you need to really work hard to get that. And just because that's what is expected of literature is that, and people paying money to buy these things, they're expecting that too. They expect it to fit it to be in English, you know, and to be structured with proper grammar. Many people wouldn't identify it when it isn't. But there are people that do, and that's the expectation. And if you want to achieve that higher plane of literature, you really need to be working on those things. And that's been actually a very big challenge for someone who's gone through the public school system of New South Wales, is spelling. Thank goodness for spell check.
Yeah.
Grammar. Thank goodness now for AI grammar checking, and editors who are, mixture of both. Like, I refer to the judgment of the editor now that I've been through a conventional editor. They're just exceptional studies of English and users of the language, and like have enhanced the second book that I've written.
Yeah.
Like, I can just tell it's gone from being like I was 80%, I liked it. My original version made me cry because it was so emotive in the way that it dealt with an adult hunting ducks for the first time. And then when I wrote it for a child, so therefore brought the age of the character down and changed the structure, it's still got some of that emotive drive, but it just works. It just flows better and the structure's better. And that is all through a conventional editor, I
really like that, that you admit that, because I think that's a really a great sign that, that there is that ability to just leverage off something and make it better for yourself. I think I'm around 180 articles now.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I think I've got probably 12 to and the thing 16.
Is, the thing is, I did, I was remedial English in high school.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And it was just because I had no interest. But I suppose the way I've managed that is I write in a very conversational way. So I've kind of can make my own conventions, because it's a conversational post. But I'm sure
it's easier to read and it's more enjoyable to read too. And that's,
when you go to a publishing level, I'm sure, convention becomes, again, paramount all of a sudden. Probably with your self-publishing, it also gave you a lot of leeway if you move into the more formal publishing. You are going to run into that kind of thing. It's an inevitable journey.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm going, and I've gone there myself. Like I've purposefully made the decision to go to an editor for the second one because I just kept finding little things on the first one. I just wasn't sure. It's like, oh wait, do I need a comma there? Do I need to do this, that, the other? I didn't know, but I was already too far down the journey to bring it back. And like, not that it doesn't read fine, like it is, it's, I'm really proud of it. I think it's great, but there are probably little things in there that could have been polished up through an editor that I've achieved on the second one. Yeah, but look, I mean, you've got that many articles, like, as you probably know, like you can pick the best out of those or rewrite them or structure them into a book, and an editor would help to do that and really highlight how to patch that together and what rewrites to do. And you probably find most of it because it's sound of idea and sound of the storytelling style. It's just the polishing of the, like, we both love Peter Ryan from New Zealand as a writer, and that you see that in his. Every word is where it's meant to be, and it is just like I reread lines because they're just exceptionally well structured. I'm trying to go like, how do I do that? Because I can't get it myself, and when I try to do it, my sentences become too complicated, and I stumble on them. And I wrote the damn things, like.
But yeah, that if we're going to come to like a pinnacle, it is for me, and obviously it sounds like for you, is Peter Ryan's writing style. And I've had the pleasure of speaking to him a number of times. And, he talks about the philosophical doesn't like his stuff enough, and the bang flop doesn't like his stuff enough. And I kind of think, well, you're
there's a middle ground where there.
He's in. Then you're in your own lane. So that's it. And the joy of being in your own lane.
And hunting has lanes. It still has lanes. Like we have lanes, which is awesome. And the best part is you say it's your lane, but it's like there's room. There's room.
And you'd be surprised
how
many people actually, want to inhabit that lane as well. I think that's the other thing. When we briefly touched on socials, they're a very loud voice, but I'm not sure if they're the right voice. Obviously you've got to be in the conversation, but I think creating your own lane is also a really, really important part of this. And that's, I suppose, brings it back to that idea is I don't think I have there isn't buckets. I think hunting is the bucket. The rest kind of fit in there. So maybe that's the lane. I think we're coming to a natural conclusion.
Sounds fine to me.
So
I'm an hour ahead of you in New South Wales. It's also coming to my bedtime with young kids.
Okay, that's it. So let's do the professional thing here. And and end with you giving us the title of the book, your name, and where it's available.
Great. So, yeah, the title of the book is I'm a Deer Hunter by Rob Baldinger. It is currently available on Amazon, print on demand, and Kindle. But there is also copies going to the Australian Deer Association's retail space. So I did a print run via Southern Impact in Melbourne. So if you're somebody who wants to see something that is fully Australian made, there is a version out there. I've got printed copies here as well that will be available via the ADA and possibly some hunting stores near you. So if you want it, reach out to them, because I've written to all of them and there's a couple of little orders out there, but haven't had a huge take up yet from the hunting store retail side of it. But anyone who's listening and follows me on Instagram at the Venison Diplomat, they can message me their name, their email, and a delivery address, and I can invoice and I'll do a signed copy for those people. So it's $25 for a signed and posted copy anywhere in Australia. So $25. Yeah. So that's what I've been doing, and I've started to send a lot out like that because I have done a print run. But hopefully it'll start falling into some more hunting stores. Like I said, reach out to them if you really want to do it that way. I'm happy to post to them at a wholesale price. They'll retail it to make a little bit from it. I'm doing the same offer to a lot of hunting clubs as well, so particularly ADA branches. So a few of them are buying small runs to use as Christmas raffle gifts or to kind of on-sell to make it like a little revenue raiser for them. And look, if you're in the Bega Valley or close by, I'll hand sell it for, I've been doing hand selling to friends, family, and other people around town as the word gets out for $20 because there's no postage. So there's a few methods, but yeah, reach out to me on either Instagram at the Venison Diplomat or the Venison Diplomat at gmail.com. And I also have a website, thevenisondiplomat.com.au. So Rob Baldinger, aka the Venison Diplomat, aka I am a deer hunter, any of those searches now on Google will find their way to me as of the last few weeks. Yeah, I'm fresh to social media. Like in the last few years, I'm also like you. I'm a bit in and out. I don't quite know how I feel about it, but as a tool for promoting something, there's not much better than that. So I'm in there. Some self-serving purposes, yes, but I'm also in there because you've got to be in the conversation. Like I said, you've got to be in. You can't. I'm not a person who can just say, "Oh, there's no children's books about hunting. This sucks." I'm the person who says, well, there's none because maybe it's hard and maybe I should try it. I mean, it's the same with social media. There's a reason that some people are really good at it and some people aren't so good at it. And it's because it's challenging and it's difficult. And people, particularly someone like me, it's very hard to promote yourself. And, as a sort of late 30s male on there, I didn't have anything to sell. It's kind of hard to promote yourself. What are you promoting? But now that I do have something that I care about and passionate about, I'm kind of a bit more active on there. Yeah, so that's probably my spiel about it all.
I'm going to rescue you.
Yeah,
and here we go.
You.
Buy the book, $25, best money you'll ever spend.
Yeah,
get to it.
Directly
get
to me.
It. If you don't, we'll come around you and let's.
And give me your feedback. I really want to hear from people. Off. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that. Thanks for the
What a great
promo.
conversation. Thanks for making time available. I really look forward to this conversation to authors, though you're far more successful than me. Authors discussing this book. This is a hunting book, especially, and I suppose a children's hunting book. Great opportunity. Great time to be alive. Great to speak to you.
I'm happy. I know I talk a lot, but even if you like short format book reviews is definitely something because I read as many and all the hunting books I can get my hands on. So maybe we could pick it up again one time for a short form book review for people. Like buy this book, it's great, kind of, or don't buy this one, it's terrible. Not that I've found that many that are terrible, but there are a lot of Kiwi writers of hunting books, and not all of them are great. Many of them are, but I've read them all.
I think we'll draw a line on it there.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, thanks very much for your time. Look, I really appreciate it, and I all the best for your book. I'm keen to get a copy, and I'm also keen to pass it on to my boy. He's an avid reader, and if you want feedback, you'll be getting some feedback from him. Okay,
good. Thanks.
All the best, and good luck with it.
Rightio, that's a wrap from the team at the Hunters Campfire. We hope you had a laugh, learned something useful, or at least were a little bit entertained. And you feel a little bit more pumped up for your next hunting, shooting, or outdoor misadventure. As always, a massive thanks for the support from our friends at SSAA and Beretta Australia. Whether you're out there chasing game, telling lies to your mates around the fire, or just trying to remember where you left your boots, stay wild, stay curious, and for the love of all things blaze, stay safe, so we can see you back around the fire next time.